Last video was quite a weighty look at a topic I would assume most people see as fun and relaxing. At least that's what I assume people think about when they say vacation. And maybe the video was a bit dark, but yet to me it was true. I did have a difficult time and things did go wrong a lot in my own mind. But despite that, I still see it as a positive experience because I do believe I did grow and I did learn from it. Even if it was such a seemingly negative situation, which it kind of was, but it also was not. For me, this is life and it's what I have to deal with. I did spend the first 2 days in panic attacks and I did feel a whole lot of uncertainty the entire time being out and about in Paris. And first thing I always need to realize is that a panic attack is not a thing on its own. It has a cause and it's the effect of things being too much for me to handle. And I always try to think about it in this way, even if I have such big a panic attack as I had in Paris. My goal was to not have it ruin my birthday present, and I did reach the point where we could be happy together and spend time together, but it just required a bit of work, or a lot of work. And now afterwards, my task is to learn from what had happened, and well, it's our task to learn from what has happened, because I'm not alone. Still mostly my task to know what's happening in me so I can communicate that. And then we can indeed figure it out together. Because I'm not alone. I've got a partner who is with me. And the day after getting back from the trip, I wrote down a list of things that went wrong. Things that I could do to alleviate and help those things get be better next time. And that's something I always think about mentally, and it's not a bad thing to write it down, so you don't have to remember everything. Though still, it works quite well for me to just continuously be aware. But still, it's not a bad thing to just write it down and have a little help. And also have it in hand so you can communicate to others what is happening. Because when dealing with anything, communication is super important. And I did want to make a video on this subject earlier. But in the world you have a lot of people around you, their lives are intertwined with yours, and you have to communicate. If something is difficult, help them understand why things are happening. Because you can't expect people to understand when, like me, you suddenly shut down and go mute and say nothing anymore. But maybe we'll all explore that in another video, because now I was reflecting back on what happened in Paris. Because I still believe that reflecting back is super important, and it's how you learn what happens. And I had huge panic attacks and trouble thinking and communicating. I got emotional and started crying, but that's not a thing on its own. Panic has a cause, and that's why you need to think about it to find out what the things are that bring you to that point. So I think about what brings me to this point, and when I boil it down, it generally comes down to one thing with a lot of branches. That's the uncertainty what to do, and uncertainty how to act and what happens, and having way too much input. And generally at that point I have so much input I can no longer reasonably function or reason what's happening. That's why it's important to keep yourself away from that edge, not only because it feels bad, but also because you can't learn that way. Things will be too much. It often, with me, starts with a difficult situation and many other little things that stack up, where things are too much for me to reason and to know what's happening, and when I'm pulled out of my general routines and little things that I know how to do the general little routines and things that I do and that work. Let me recreate an example of what has happened in Paris for one situation where I went into this huge panic. We were at a restaurant and oh, scary new place. Looking at all the little things and all the input around me, my brain is already processing everything around me. And now we're at the point I have to say hello. But how do I do that? What language do I use? Because they say bonjour here. But that's not what I usually say. I need to process that, but I can't. So it's too new, too many questions for me, and it's a split second decision. So I'll say hello. I know English. I know hello. I can say that. Hello. Okay, that works. Next, the menu. Huge choice. So many things. And now I need to figure out what's vegetarian. Oh, they didn't easily note it down in this menu with a little fee. Now I have to read everything. Think about all the ingredients. Oh, they asked me what to drink? Water, that's easy. That fits my normal routine. And that's socially acceptable because we spend money on food. So I won't be that cheapo that doesn't spend any money. Okay, back to the food. As my brain goes on like that, until something big happens that's too much for me to handle. Like on the second day where we did not get enough food because I eat a whole lot. And I do eat a little less than I bought once, but I could still easily eat 2 meals. And yeah, we really did not get enough that time. But now I'm panicking because I don't know how to deal with it. I did not practice on this. My brain has to run through all the options of how to deal with this. But that takes hours. Panic price is higher. Could I order another meal? No, that's not normal and it's too expensive for what I would normally do. I can't complain or ask for more food because that's way too many variables. I can't handle that. And at this point, I just really want to run out, but I can't because that's not socially acceptable. You can't just run out of a restaurant, but my fight or flight response is being activated. A panic has set in and I'm in an unsafe location, too unfamiliar. So I grab Sanna's hand from her to save me at this point. I don't know what to do and things are now suddenly scary and my brain is thinking 1,000 things at the same time. And she tries to help me calm down, but that's not easy at this point because I'm way too far into panic mode. And I still don't know what to do. At this point I really can't reason anymore properly. So she took me to Subway and got me a large sandwich. And she did not ask me any more questions, so I didn't have any extra load to deal with. And quickly we made our way to the hotel room where basically all my panic exploded because suddenly I was in a place where I didn't have to keep strong again. And there I had a huge breakdown and had trouble eating the sandwich because I was just thinking about everything and I could not stop thinking about it. And yeah, that took a few hours and yeah, that did suck, but afterwards comes the real work to know what happened and how to deal with that and what the things were that caused me to get to that point, that caused me to gain so much panic where yeah, I acted in that way or where I could not reason anymore like that. So one of the things is that my routines don't work anymore because I have developed these tiny little routines that my brain knows, oh, this is okay. So if I just do this little thing, I have one less thing to think about. And it can be something like, where do I put my shoes? Otherwise I have to think about where to put my shoes every time. You can't think about where to put my shoes every time because that would be so that's like one of the little things where when we are greeted we have to say something back because that's what you do socially. And then they say things like bonjour or bonsoir, and then okay, what do I say back now? And have to reason, okay, just say something back and it's fine. Just accept anything that comes out of your mouth. And often it just turns into a random sound and okay, sure, it's a random sound in greeting. whatever. And when I have to pick a meal, I'll just look for something vegetarian and seems edible, and just don't worry about it too much. Just pick it, and just accept. And for the drinks, yeah, just say water, it's fine. If that's a problem, that's their problem, not yours. And if there's not enough food like that has happened, okay, there are just current buns in the hotel room. Yeah, Kentable have saved me a lot of times in the past. So that's a great fix for a lot of things. And this is the most complicated thing to explain in words for me. But to know I can mentally take a little step back to calm down and ignore all the input for a bit and focus on Sanne or something else. But take a mental step back and let things go for a while thinking about a little next hurdle. Mentally prepare and accept and calm down. When I feel myself going over what I can handle, I take the mental effort to let go a bit. I don't know how to explain it as well, and maybe in the future I can. But all these things are very autism specific. I don't dare to say how applicable these are in general and how useful they are to non-autistic people, but this is what I need to do and what my brain does and what works for me. But I do believe that reflecting back on yourself without judgment is super important to learn what happens and how to deal with your own hurdles. And this was just one example of what happens to me, but in general it's a lot like this. Now, even with what we learned in those 2 days, I knew we had to do way less for me to function reasonably. And that's why we just went into the zoo next day, and super luckily it was super quiet. And I was in a reasonable mood, panically speaking, because my panic level was still quite high, but it was normal-ish. It was something I could handle. There were still peaks where it shut up, but I could just slow down, focus, and I do believe we did grow and I did grow. And yeah, it was probably still too big of a step, but it's still positive that we did it, and we still did learn a lot, and that was good. And that's what I want to focus on, that it was good and that it was a positive experience and that I had fun with my partner. And on top of that, we've got to see new things, and I've got to stand on a high building, though there was a pesky little fence in the way. But you can't have everything. And I had fun in the Les Invalides Museum. And last thing that I almost forgot is that I do take pride in the fact that I did do it, even if it was scary as fluff and fluff. But I am strong.